which is about glass, windows and doors. Then next week we'll do 19 through 21, and then we'll have a test over 17 through 21, I believe, in a couple of weeks. Then we'll do the last 3 chapters, plus we'll have your final project. This is all on Canvas, you can look it up. And then we'll have our final projects due and our final exam. So, and on the test you took the other day, I think I put it on Canvas, I'm not sure. If you dispute any of the answers, which there may be some questions, just find it in the book and point it out to me and I will look at it. You all have different questions, so it's hard for me to catch them all because it comes out of a question bank. So it's best if you find the answers and you send me a comment and say, I found this on page blah, 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 blah. Okay? Otherwise, it is what it is. Okay. So we're going to talk about glass. It's a lot of information, so I don't think we'll have a worksheet today. But glass is very old, obviously. Been around for many centuries. I don't know if any of you, I've been to Venice. Have any of you been to Venice? Yeah. It's kind of.
Is that in Texas?
No, Italy. My son was stationed near there, so that's why I went there. But that's like historical glass country. That's where they do this blowing of glass. I've seen them do this process where the guy actually whirls it around and blows it. It's pretty interesting. But it talks about the Venetian in Murano as one of the major centers for glass making. I don't know if, a side note, Venice is in islands. It's like a canal system. And so when you go there, they wouldn't let the glass people be in the main island because it's fire and the chance of explosions, and so they put them out on a faraway island to make their glass. Because of the danger of the fire. Anyway, so crown glass process it talks about here, blowing glass, large glass spheres, an iron rod called a puntney is used to hold the glass. You can see that there. And the reheating sphere resulting in a crown of 30 inches in diameter, and then it's cooled and cut out. So that's how they do crown glass. Here's a demonstration or pictorial demonstration of another early glass. The swinging action, that's what I saw in blowing glass. You blow air through the tube and it spreads it out, hemispherical. Crown glass obviously was favored over cylinder glass because of the surface quality. I don't know if I did that. Yeah, it does. Okay. That way this might hear me better. Okay. So from crown glass to float glass, which is more modern, lack of optical quality in the crown and the cylinder glass gave way to an introduction of plate glass in the 17th century in France, and that's, as the name implies, plate glass is sort of laid out in a flat plate, and then it's cooled and ground flat, polished and cut. And then the cylinder glass process evolved in the 19th century. In the 20th century, drawn glass was produced. So this is just a little bit of history, just for your listening pleasure. Float glass is even more modern, as you can see. It's a modern factory. The glass is floated in a tin, and it hardens producing parallel surfaces. There's very good quality. In the older glass, obviously there was more distortion, so the quality wasn't as good for your glass. And you can also, cut it into your desired size after you make these big sheets. So what is glass made of? Well, is that right? Oh, we gotta go somewhere else. Okay. Well, we'll go with the slides. This is obviously a skyscraper. This glass is actually very, very strong. You can use it for structural. You can walk on it. You can make beams out of it, which I think you'll see in a little bit. And obviously it has to be strong for cladding purposes. It's lightweight. It's durable, as long as you don't throw a rock at it. But and it has you can enhance it with coverings and films to make it where, you know, it's good thermal and you can see, and it also provides some thermal properties. Here you can see different properties of it. You have spandrel glass, which is the kind of glass that, like this dark glass that you can't see. So if you see a skyscraper that's totally made of, looks like it's all glass, it's got spandrel glass covering probably the area between the floors so that you don't see the structure. And then it's got clear glass, which may be tinted, so it all looks the same from the outside, but you can actually see through the clear glass. Let me see if you just came in. Chris and Michael? No. Matthew. AJ's not here yet, or Raymond's not here yet, or Michael's not here yet. All right. So glass is made from, it's very simple, sand, soda ash, lime, aluminum, potassium oxide. It's super cool. It's a super cooled liquid in a sheet form. This strength is impacted by the imperfections of the glass. So the more imperfections, probably the more weaknesses in those imperfections. You can get many thicknesses from very thin, 3/32, which a 1/16 of an inch is 2/32, so that's just slightly bigger than that, to an 1/8 inch or even to an inch thick. Security glass oftentimes will be, an inch thick, and it'll be laminated, and we'll talk about that in a minute with layers so that bullets or stuff can't go through it. Glass by heat treatment and strength. So annealed glass is a regular float glass which is cooled slowly to reduce the built-in stress. So that's something you might specify if you needed that property. Tempered glass is produced by cutting annealed glass into the required size. You have a big sheet of annealed glass. You cut it down to the size you need. Then you reheat it, and then you cool it rapidly. The higher strength and breaks into smaller shards. And what that means, like if you have a patio door, and by code you have to have tempered glass whenever there's, I don't know the exact height, but if it's lower than 18 inches, so that if someone has a chance of running through it, it won't just break into giant shards and cut you like a knife. It'll make little bitty round things. And your car windows are like that too, I believe, with tempered glass. So then it just sort of crumbles instead of breaks into big pieces. Heat strengthened glass between annealed and tempered with the breakage behavior like annealed. And then there's laminated glass, which is a sandwich of multiple layers of glass with PVB interlayer. And that's, like I was saying, for security purposes. You'll have glass, a vinyl or PVB layer, and then glass, however many you need for the specifications for the security. And that's also hurricane glass. Like if you have windows on your home that you don't have to shutter, it's because you have this kind of glass. And where a 2x4 will run into it and it'll break it, but it won't go anywhere. So. And then there's architectural treatments as well. You've got patterned glass. You can make it all kinds of textures and patterns. Probably seen it on, especially like bathroom, shower doors, stuff like that. It has little patterns on it. Fritted glass is pigmented glass particles, which are called frits, are used to imprint the glass. The glass is dried and fired in tempering furnace to make it permanent. And then spandrel glass, which is what I was talking about earlier, is used to cover bands of the floor wall around the edges. And you can see that in this skyscraper here. The darker layers are the spandrel glass. Glass can control solar radiation by tinting. You can add small amounts of chemical elements to the molten glass mixture. You can also add films, reflective glass or solar glass, thin durable films of metal or metal oxide deposited on the surface to clear glass, and it makes it reflective, which will reflect back the rays. Of course, you got to be careful when you do that. I think I've told y'all or told somebody before. If you're ever driving down a highway in a city, and all of a sudden, at 5:30 in the afternoon at rush hour, and you're blinded by this gold building, so And then when you're an architect, you need to think of where your reflections are going, how they're going to affect the people driving. And there's a little slide showing the different the different treatments. You got the clear float glass, which allows a lot of radiation to go through. Reflected glass bounces back some. And then you got double glazing with reflective coating on the inside outer layer that pretty much reflects everything out, and then just lets some good light in. So you have to be aware, especially, well, here for the heat and up north for the cold, the thermal properties of your glass. An IGU is a glass, insulating glass unit. It's made of multiple glass layers sealed with air, reducing the conductance, because air is a very good thermal, heat and cold can't go through it very easily. And sometimes it's filled with a gas. Most windows nowadays are double paned, and that has this so that they're more insulating and don't let here it's the heat we're worried about, or letting the cold air out. So. And you got low E glass, which is a metallic coating, which is also something that nearly all new homes have now, is you always specify the low E glass. This is just a chart showing the thermal and visual performance. You might refer to this or something like that when you're picking out your glazing. You want to know the visible light transmittance, how much light is passing through. The whole solar heat gain is an important factor. How much heat is going to be coming through that glass. Your engineers will want to know that to calculate their loads for the air conditioning. And the light solar gain ratio is something you'll look at. And on every piece of window or door that has glazing in it, you'll have these a label, something like this, that will tell you, so that as the architect, when you go out to the site and you specified solar heat gain of 0.38, you can go look when the windows and doors are delivered. You can make sure that that's what you got. If not, you send it back. Say, do it over. Glazing. So there's, it used to not be so easy to make the large pieces of glass, so that's when you had the small glazing lights. In the old colonial houses, you have the little panes of glass, because it's much easier to make a small piece that's has better visual quality than a large piece. But anyway, this is just the little details of how you would put single glazing in. And really the only place you use single glazing now is maybe on the inside, like on this door here, probably has single glazing, where you're not worried about the the heat and the cold, stuff like that. So this describes it. It's not subject, like I said, to excessive wind force or stresses due to thermal expansion. The glass is first held in place by a glazier's point, which is just a little piece of metal or something, and then it is sealed on the outside with a putty, followed by painting. The factory glaze units employed improved putties or glazing compounds which stay elastic for a longer period of time. You can also do it with a wood stop. There's a more like an aluminum metal window frame. You would have a snap-in glazing bead, and then you'd have a rubber gasket, or you'd have a glazing compound. So the large lights, how would you do that? Those are anything that's over 6 feet or 6 square feet, which is 2 foot by 3 foot. You would, the design objectives, you support the weight of the glass without abnormal stress patterns. Support glass against the wind pressure and suction. You also need to allow for expansion and contraction, because glass does expand and contract, and you need to have room in your framing for it to do that without twisting the framing or breaking the glass. And you also want to avoid contact, however, with the hard frame, so that's why you have the rubber gaskets all around the edge. Here's some methods of single glazing, large lights and how they would do it. The setting blocks are synthetic rubber and support the weight of the glass. Then you have the bite or the depth of the grip, the bite or depth of grip on the edge of glass